Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Ali Cudby, CEO of Alignmint Growth Strategies. Ali is a dynamic force in business transformation through intentional customer experiences. With a mission to drive growth by architecting superior customer interactions, Ali's expertise aligns strategy and implementation. She is the author of the best-selling book, Keep Your Customers. She offers fresh insights from real-world stories, best practices, and CEO-led case studies. Her Mint methodology outlined in the book fuels transformational customer loyalty. With 20 plus years in corporate planning and strategic marketing, Ali founded Alignmint in 2014, focusing on small to mid-sized companies. As a Purdue University entrepreneurship instructor, she shapes the next generation of business leaders. Ali's podcast appearances showcase her wealth of knowledge in customer experience, growth strategies, and intentional business success. So without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump right into this conversation with Ali. Welcome, Ali.
Thanks. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. All right. So we always like to give our guests an opportunity to share in their own words a little bit about their journey, even though your bio gives us a formal breakdown of, what you've done in the past and how you are, you're an author and the different strategies that you've employed to get to where you are. Just in your own words, if you could share a little bit with our listeners, how you got from where you were to where you are today.
Sure. So I got into this world of customer loyalty and retention in my first job out of business school. And I was working for the New York Times Company in their corporate strategy group, which was kind of like an internal consulting group, and was put on a project in the call center, which honestly wasn't really considered to be an awesome assignment. It was sort of, the call center was in a warehouse in New Jersey and not in the very lovely corporate headquarters in Times Square. And people were coming up to me and saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you got this gig." And ultimately, it transformed my thinking about the customer experience and created this path for my entire career because it showed me this insight, which is that the things that companies do inside their organization are the things that impact the customer experience. So you have to be really thoughtful about how do you deliver clear and consistent processes for the customer and make sure that you embed that with your team so that your customers can have this great experience. So that, time at the New York Times Company was a really long time ago. And I've had the opportunity now to see this in action in corporate America and in my own path as an entrepreneur and in a very wide range of companies. And so that's kind of how I started out in this very corporate role.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, in your bio, we also read that you are the author of the best-selling book, Keep Your Customers. So could you share with our listeners a little bit about that book and maybe, just maybe 2 to 3 overarching themes that the book focuses on?
Sure. So the book was the book was published and it came out on April 15th, 2020, which, as you recall, was a little bit of a crazy time.
Height of COVID.
So, I spent 2 years putting the book together and making sure that it had everything just perfect and all these speaking engagements lined up and all that stuff. And then, a month before the book was published, the world changed. And it was really interesting because the book really focuses on exactly what I was just talking about. What are the things that you can do in your company to set your customers up for success? And I talk about one of the key themes being the balance of heart and smart. And what I mean by that is, in order to make customers want to stay with you longer and spend more and tell all of their friends and colleagues, you have to make people feel seen, heard, and valued. And we tend to think about that emotional connection to our customers as being a little bit fluffy sometimes. And that's a real mistake. The fact of the matter is that humans have a real need to feel like they matter. And when you build relationships and when you build trust with your customers, it sets you up for a better business relationship. And that's the heart of the customer experience. And then the smart of the customer experience is that you still have to have data and metrics and process in order to ensure consistency. If you don't capture information and learn from it and have a great single source of truth about your customer information so that everybody inside your company knows what's going on with your customers, if you don't have clear and consistent processes that everybody follows, then it's going to be really hard to set up processes for growth. So you can have just like heart-centered employees who really want to do the right thing all the time, but if everybody's doing their own right thing, then you have, a mess. And what you need is this consistency. So it's that balance of heart and smart that really drives success in the customer experience.
All right. So the heart and smart. Now, you also speak about your MINT methodology, and I'm going to take a quick guess here that MINT is actually an acronym, right?
It is sort of an acronym. It is a 4-step process. I really tried hard to make it a cool acronym, and it never quite gelled. But I can talk through the 4 steps of the process. And the name of my company is actually, as you said, it's Alignmint Growth Strategies. And the mint part of it is really intentional, not just because of the method, but because of what mint represents. So when you plant mint, it grows like crazy. And when things are awesome, they're in mint condition. And when you make a lot of money, you make a mint. And so the combination of aligning and mint is exactly what we're looking for in terms of our customers' outcomes. And so the mint method is this 4-step process where first you are articulating what I call a bullseye, which is a mission statement effectively for the customer experience. So companies oftentimes create mission and vision and values for their company, but it's really all about their company. And what people need to do and what companies need to do is also articulate who it is that we want to be on behalf of our customers. Because if you have a goal of being fast and easy, that is going to set you up for a very different customer experience than if you have a goal of being, white glove and luxurious. And so in the same way that you want to articulate who you are for your company, you need to articulate who you are for your customers. And so that's the first step of the process. That's the creating of the mantra of the bullseye. Second is understanding who those customers are, really being clear about who it is that you're serving. Why are they loyal to you? What is it that those best customers want, so that you are thinking about how you drive more of them. So, and I go into a lot of detail in the book about how do you identify and articulate not just who buys the most from you, but who's the most loyal to you. You can have a really big customer that isn't loyal at all, but they drive a lot of revenue. And you can have a small customer that would live and die for you, and they tell everybody that they know about how awesome you are. And you want those people. And then once you know who it is that you're serving and who you want to get more of, then what do you want their journey to look like? So being very clear about what that customer journey looks like, what are the key inflection points throughout that journey? And then finally, the 4th step is identifying clear plays so that everybody inside your company knows exactly what to do whenever a customer gets to that inflection point on the customer journey. So whether that's the onboarding, the kickoff, the business review meeting, or the renewal period, or anything in between, every company has its own unique set of inflection points. I mean, some of them follow some level of consistency, onboarding and renewal or repurchase are fairly consistent, but everybody does it a little bit differently. Everyone needs to be clear about how they want their company to engage with customers at each of those points along the journey map. And again, that's how you make sure that you're delivering something that is not just a well-intentioned approach, but a really thoughtful and strategic approach to retention and growth.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing those steps with us. Now, Ali, could you also share with us what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
It's probably Zoom. That's not a very creative answer, but I am on Zoom all the time, every day. I work remotely for the most part, and so that's my rock.
All right. Could you also share with our listeners maybe one or two books that have had a great impact on you? It could be a book that you read a very long time ago, or even one that you've read recently, but it had a great impact on you.
There's a book called The Happiness Effect by Sean Achor, Achor. And he is a professor of positive psychology at Harvard. And the whole science of positive psychology is fascinating. The way that we create new neural pathways, the way that we can define in our brains how to be more positive and how to cultivate happiness. And so I think his book is just fascinating. And he also has a TED Talk. If you don't feel like, reading the whole book, he has a TED Talk that is fantastic. It's funny. He's a great speaker, and he gives you some very clear, actionable steps at the end of the TED Talk that are very helpful in helping people stay focused on the positivity and moving forward. And I just think that his whole approach and that TED Talk, that's one of my favorites.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, Ali, could you also share with our listeners what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? Either something you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
So I just got a puppy. And I know that that's not necessarily a business thing, but I will tell you that watching my puppy play and explore and be curious about this new world that she has come into is fascinating. And it is a great reminder that there's so much that is new and interesting in the world. And it's easy sometimes to get into a very fixed mindset about what we do and the things that we engage with from day to day and moment to moment. You get up and you make your coffee and you sort of go through your rigmarole. And sometimes it feels a little bit like, all right, I'm going to check my boxes, I'm going to do my thing, and it's, one foot in front of the other. And when you get a puppy who just has this completely new way of engaging with the same old things that you're reacting to every day, whether it's some snow on the ground or a sock on the floor, it reminds you to be open to different ways of seeing the world. And I find that to be helpful in business. So I've been trying to be intentional about using this lesson that my little ball of fluff is teaching me, and just be open to the fact that, or to the notion that maybe I can approach things differently. Maybe I can rethink things and come at them with more of a sense of wonder and play and excitement.
That's amazing. You'd be surprised to know the many different life lessons we can learn from animals. So I think it's awesome that your puppy is teaching you so many different new ways and perspectives of, looking at things from a different view. All right, Ali. So our listeners would have tapped into this interview and they'd like to connect with you. Where can they find you online?
Yeah, so you can come to my website, which is alignmintforgrowth.com, and also find me on LinkedIn. And you can look up the company, alignmintgrowth.com, or you can find me directly. And my request of your listeners is when you find me on LinkedIn, and I really hope you do, please let me know that you heard me on this podcast. LinkedIn is a great platform, but you get a lot of people that are just trying to sell you stuff. And when I know that people have heard me on a podcast, I always accept their request to connect. And so I'd love to hear from your listeners. And then you can also find the book, Keep Your Customers, in pretty much wherever books are sold.
All right. We'll definitely have the link to the book, both the Audible version as well as the soft copy and hard copy version links on the show notes for this episode. So definitely we'll encourage our listeners to tap into that awesome resource. Before we wrap our episodes up, Ali, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? If for any reason you got derailed or you got off track, the quote kind of helps to get you back on track.
So yes, there's a quote by Maya Angelou that I think about a lot for my personal life, but it's also a real guidepost in my business. And the quote is, people will forget what you did, people will forget what you said, but people never forget how you made them feel. And it's so true. The words that we use don't matter, but when you make someone feel seen, heard, and valued, whether it is in your personal life or whether it is in your business, it is transformative.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, I just want to extend our deepest gratitude to you, Ali, for taking time out of your very busy schedule and hopping on this podcast today, sharing insights about your book, Keep Your Customers, as well as your Mint methodology, and just a little bit about your overall strategy and execution as it relates to delivering that magical, and unforgettable customer experience. We really appreciate all the great insights that you shared with us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Just want to remind our listeners that you can follow us on X at NavigatingCX, and feel free to join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.